Hey y'all, it's Alec, the traveling civilian. New location, new video. Today we're going to talk about the top 10 prepper must-dos when moving to a new area. So in the last video that I filmed for y'all, we were in Sellers, South Carolina. And before we were there, I was videoing from West Yellowstone, Montana. So my wife and I live full-time in our motorhome, and we travel the country working as we go. So our jobs last anywhere from 3 to 9 months, and then we have to move on. We always try to find a job in rural America. We've ended up in New Jersey. We're in the Pine Barrens, about 45 minutes outside of Atlantic City. When moving and taking a job as a prepper, it requires careful planning. So today we're going to talk about the 10 things that I do and my wife does when we move from one location to another. I will say this, when we're looking at a new job, our number one criteria is it cannot be in a big city, but it has to be close to services. That's how we ended up here. So the first thing we do when we consider moving to a new area is we research the area for risk and threats. So we look for, number one for that is like natural disasters. Is the area prone to flooding, hurricanes, earthquakes, wildfires? So here in the Pine Barrens, we are subject to wildfires. However, at the location we're working this season, there hasn't been a wildfire reported in a long, long time. Are we subject to flooding? Yes, anytime you're on a natural waterway, you have a potential for flooding. However, this particular river has never been known for coming out of its banks more than just a few feet. So for us, this area met that criteria. Next is crime rates, civil unrest potential. So the crime rate in this area is very, very low. The chance for civil unrest, this is farm community. And there is not a very high potential here. Maybe in Atlantic City, maybe up in Trenton, but not here in the Pine Barrens. And then supply chain vulnerabilities. Well, I said we are surrounded by farms. So if something happened, there's a farm 3 miles down the road we can get fresh eggs at. There is not much further past there. There is an Amish-run farmer's market. So if there's supply chain issues across the country, I think we've got that covered. Plus, we have food storage. You should too. The other is to scout the area and secure housing. So for us, it's a little bit different. Like I stated, we live in a motorhome and we travel. We always have our home with us. So we just have to secure a good location. And this particular campground that we're at is in what I consider a secure location. And as a plus, it is a gated campground. So that adds a level of security to it. Then you have to think about water, food source, and population density. We've covered all that. We have a very good natural water source here. We have a Berkey water filter, life straws, all those things that are needed if I need to get off the well and drink this river water. We can do that. Food source. Yesterday morning I got up, went for a walk. I saw 10 turkeys and 3 deer. There's plenty of natural food in this area. And because the population density is so low, This community only has about 880 people in it. Now, when the campground's open, which will start next week, we'll have more people coming and going from the cities. But if there's a big situation, we don't have to worry about those people coming here. They're going to be stuck in the cities. So I think the natural food chain that's in this area would not be depleted too fast. And then the other thing is, if you're not like us and you live in a sticks and bricks, or you live in more of a traditional lifestyle, then you have to make sure you secure a piece of property where you can do long-term sustainable gardening and survival. We have a pretty big lot here. We have hydroponics in the camper, and I do grow vegetables outside. I do container gardening. The third thing we have to worry about is building a community and networking. That's why we like to go to rural America, to the farmland, to the country. There's a lot of like-minded people in this area. So now that we've been here for 3 days, I've got to figure out where to go and where to network. But before I got here, I already knew there were like-minded people in the community. And the next part of that is getting to know your neighbors for safety and resources. Yesterday was move-in day at the campground. I made it a point to meet the people that are going to be camping in the long-term section where we are, to pick out people that are like-minded, people that would be a good source of information and skills while we are going through a disaster in this area. So if something happens while the campground is full, I know that I've got, just on my road, I've got a paramedic, a nurse, 2 firemen, a policeman, and a farmer. Now, there are about 25 campsites on my particular part of the campground. So I would say that we have a good group of people that could come in handy for mutual aid, alliances, protection, gathering, and that sort of stuff. Number 4 is to map out key resources. We've identified local hospitals, pharmacies, where the emergency services are. We've located farms. I've located the Tractor Supply. I've located 3 or 4 fueling stations. Plus, we have a propane fueling station here at the campground. So if something happens and I need heat, we've got a 300-gallon supply that's always available, because we have a 1,000-gallon tank. It gets refilled at 300 gallons. So I know there's always going to be 300 gallons of propane right here. And then, as you can see by this river, we have identified alternative water sources. I told you about the turkeys and about the deer. We've identified alternative food sources. We've got farms, fresh eggs, and the Amish in the area. So I think that we did a good job with this park in covering those requirements. The 5th thing that we try to do when we get into a new area is establish emergency routes and bug out locations. So we have found local shelter here in the area. We have identified some potential farms that I have not yet met the owners. And then we have established routes to get out of here in case there is an emergency. So we can go more than one direction when we leave this, depending on where the threat is coming from. So we've identified bug out locations, but we have not secured any. That's next priority on my list. And consider alternative transportation options. So right now we have the motorhome, which is motorized. If something happens to it, we've got a 4-wheel drive Jeep. If something happens to that, we have 2 e-bikes. The e-bikes are the least desirable option, but if I need something to run back and forth to a local farm to pick up supplies, I could do that on the e-bike. And as far as charging it, I've got 3 battery packs that are chargeable by solar. So if I need to, I can charge the battery packs with a solar panel and then transfer that power to the e-bike. So we have unlimited power. So something you have to consider is, how are you going to be able to harden your home and stockpile in whatever location you have moved to? Are you going to be installing security cameras, a security system? Are you going to be reinforcing your door? Are you going to be building food, water, medical supply stockpiles, and where are you going to keep it? That's one of my biggest problems. We live in a 32-foot motorhome. So we have to be creative when we're stockpiling. So we stockpile a good bit of bartering items that we can trade for bigger items that we need. And set up backup power. I have a 7 kW generator that runs off gas. I keep 90 gallons of fuel in my motorhome when I'm parked and set up. And I maintain the generator. On top of that, we have 3 battery packs that we can use for charging devices. We have a solar panel to charge those battery packs. So that's how we are hardening our home and stocking up with supplies. Number 7 is understanding local laws and regulations. So yes, I said we moved to New Jersey. Yes, New Jersey has terrible Second Amendment laws. So you need to understand the laws where you're going, as far as gun laws, self-defense laws, property rights. There's also laws in lots of places about collecting water, hunting, homesteading. You need to do everything you can to stay compliant while maximizing your preparedness. And then what have you done for number 8 about getting medical training and identifying healthcare options? So I'm certified with CPR. I know basic wound management and emergency care. If somebody breaks their arm, how to secure their arm in place until you're able to get them the proper help. But when you move to a new location, you need to find where the doctors and medical care options are and a route to get there. You need to have some CPR training, some trauma training, take some first aid courses. A lot of that can be found at some clinics, your local fire station, or churches. Lots of times churches will provide that kind of training. And then you need to figure out what type of medications you need to stock up on, and prescriptions. My wife and I, luckily, are some of the healthiest fat people you know. And so we are not on any medication at this time. However, if you are on heart pills or blood thinners or whatever your medication is, you need to figure out how to stockpile some of that and get what you need. Number 9, develop local self-sufficient skills. So you need to figure out, if you're in a new area, what will grow in your local climate and the best way to garden in that area. You need to identify, I'm in the forest, as you can see. You need to identify edible plants and your local hunting laws, like I said before. And very important, the most important thing you need to do is keep your body hydrated. You need to learn water purification methods and practice those. Number 10, the last thing, is keep a low profile. So you need to avoid oversharing about your preps. You need to blend in while staying prepared. And you need to learn situational awareness and always be ready for anything. So I hope that you got some valuable information out of this video about the things that you need to do or that you should do when you're moving to an unfamiliar area. Let me know in the comments below what you do when you're moving as a prepper. I may have forgotten some things, or there's some things I may need to start doing to keep my family safe and prepared. As always, I'll ask you to like the video, subscribe to the video, and share the video, because that is what will keep this channel alive and keep YouTube sharing my content. Thank you very much for taking the time to watch the video. I hope it was helpful. Until next time, stay safe.